Co-parenting with a narcissist is not a thing, at least not in the way that you hope it's going to be. Because if you're divorcing someone that's a narcissist or high in narcissistic traits, even if they don't want custody of the kids, or if they didn't even take care of them during the relationship, they're going to fight for custody and they're going to make it difficult on you during your relationship. Now, during your divorce, I should say. Now, my own experience was not that, and I'll talk about that more in a little bit, but I've heard from so many clients and so many other people online that their experience was really difficult. So narcissists are people that have no or very little empathy. They ignore boundaries. They consider themselves to be more knowledgeable and superior to everyone else. And the children, they're treated like an extension of the narcissist. They don't really necessarily care about them unless the way they appear to the world reflects upon them. I mean, that's really the only thing they care about. Do they reflect on them in a good way, or do they reflect on them in a bad way? So if they, are making good grades, they're good in sports, they are winning awards, whatever, then they're their children and they're so proud of them and they're happy. But don't expect them to take them to practices or be a part of the whole process of getting to that place. They just want to take all the compliments once the children get there. They don't give a lot of thought or well-being into the care of their children. And, if their children don't make them look good, then they really don't have a lot of use for them. They don't talk about them much or pay much attention to them. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking more about how narcissists behave during a divorce, what they're going to want for custody, the threats that they may make. I will also be talking about things that you should consider for your parenting plan. And then I'm going to talk about ways to stay sane during this whole process. If this topic of narcissism and ending a relationship with a narcissist interests you, then please like and subscribe to this video and share it with somebody that you know could use this information, because as we know, divorcing a narcissist is very hard. Ending a relationship is near to impossible. And if you have kids with them, you have many more years to spend with them in a lot of cases. I do have one-on-one coaching sessions available, and I have my group program, Becoming Conscious, which I will link below. So if you want more information, check those out. Now, like I said, narcissists don't usually pay much attention to the health and well-being of their kids. However, during a divorce, getting custody suddenly becomes their biggest priority. Their kids become so important to them. And it's because they use the kids to control you. They also consider this a game of winning and losing. So if they're not winning over you, then they're losing. So, in most cases, in most states, I believe parents get 50-50 custody. So if the narcissist feels like he's not one-upping you in some way, then he feels like he's losing. He or she feels like they're losing. And so they will, stall. They will drag things out. They'll do all kinds of tactics to get you stuck in this long battle, racking up thousands and thousands of dollars. And you are the enemy. They'll fight till the bitter end. So hopefully the state that you live in recognizes some of these tactics. Hopefully find an attorney that is really good at recognizing the narcissist tricks and tactics, and you will be able to get out of this with the bare minimum of cost. Now, during a divorce, you may see the narcissist threaten to take the kids away from you, threaten to prove that you're unfit, or threatening to charge you with parental alienation. Sometimes these are empty threats. Sometimes they do follow through with them. And they can drive women who earn less money than them or have been a stay-at-home parent for much of their lives into bankruptcy, unfortunately. So, and for men who have a narcissistic partner, they often create a fight in the courts because, in traditional families, the woman was the one who cared for the children more. But in a narcissistic relationship, it's usually the partner that is not narcissistic, which, can be the man. So, unfortunately, in the courts, I think it's more even now, but I did have a friend that years ago, he had a wife that she was narcissistic, and he was able to get custody of his kids because the judge asked questions, or his attorney, I don't know, asked questions about well, who takes the kids to the doctor? What medications do they take? Who bathes them? Who puts them to bed at night? And he was able to provide all the answers because he was the one that did all the caretaking of the children. So luckily he got 50-50 custody, and later he was able to get full custody. What you can do in this case, don't feel afraid of their threats, because most courts, like I said today, give parents 50-50 custody. And if you are concerned for some reason that your partner does not deserve 50% of time with their children because of the abuse that they've put them through or put you through, then what you can do is document everything. Document every incident and just write it very factually, because courts don't care about emotions. They just deal with the facts. So you can say, this happened on this date. The children, give their names, were involved with this situation. They saw everything, or, it was them that was being emotionally abused, and tell if anybody else was there. Was there a grandparent involved? Was there, some other neighbor or something like that? Give names and dates and present this list of incidents to your attorney, and, start documenting as early as you can, and give any dates that you can remember, even if you have to go through your memory and go back to the past. This birthday party, this happened. At this Christmas celebration, this happened. Give dates of everything you can think of. And then one of the things you're going to really want to make sure you do is create a very detailed parenting plan. So, when I got divorced, things were a lot different, but at that time, my ex got partial custody. Nowadays, like I said, people get split custody. And so there's a lot more that goes into making the decisions, because you're not getting child support in a lot of cases like I did. And, you may even have less money than your ex or your partner. So split things now, because you don't want to have to go back to court. You're going to want to split some of these things that I'm going to give you a couple examples of. Where will drop-off occur? Who's allowed to pick up the children? Will the children be fed when they're dropped off? Because, if your partner has had them all day, hopefully they're fed and you're not having to scramble for dinner on the night before a school night at 8 p.m. Who will buy the clothes? Where will the clothes stay? Will each parent buy clothes for their own house? Will the clothes go back and forth between the homes with each parent washing them during their time with the kids? How will you handle extensive dental work like braces or tooth extraction? Are you going to split those? Will one parent pay for the braces? Braces are considered extra. They're not necessary. So if you think that could be a problem down the line, put that in your parenting plan. Who will pay for cell phones, tablets, and other devices, as well as usage? Nowadays there's Disney Plus and Netflix and YouTube and all these things that you can pay for the services. Are you going to be responsible for paying for all of those? Will the other parent pay for them? Will you split it? That's important to know. Who will pay for the car and auto insurance when the child or children become of age to drive? Who will pay for extracurricular activities, sports, band lessons, dance costumes? All that stuff adds up. So if you don't have it in your parenting plan, you're probably going to be the one getting stuck with it. Will you allow them to keep the kids for the weekend before their vacation, the weekend after their vacation, and then the subsequent weekend if that also happens to fall on their weekend? So you need to put like, no 3 weekends in a row, that type of thing, so that you don't get stuck not seeing your children for, so many weekends at a time. What time will you exchange the children on holidays? Will the other parent get them Christmas Eve and all of Christmas Day? Will you get them halfway through Christmas Day? For example, that's just one example that happened with me. We split, I always had Christmas Eve, and then we split the kids in the middle of the day on Christmas Day so that we both got time for Christmas. How will you communicate with your children during their time with the other parent? How often will you allow the other parent to communicate with the children during your time with them? Now, there's a lady that I follow on the line. Her name is, she goes by the Samantha Boss on Instagram, and she talks about parenting plans extensively. So she's much more of an expert at this than I am. But one of the things that she talked about was, maybe you shouldn't communicate with your children while they're with the narcissistic or toxic parent, because as you know, a lot of times it causes more problems for your children because the toxic parent's watching over everything they say to you, the toxic parent's grilling them after they talk on the phone, and it just can be really stressful for the children. It might be easier for them to just go for their time with that parent without talking to you, or if there's a way that they can text you or something like that. Think about those things, because I know I can't even imagine not having my children for a week at a time when they were little. And I know that would have been so difficult for me to go that long without talking to them. So you just kind of have to weigh it, like what's better for the kids and not so much what's best for you. If you feel like your kids will really struggle without talking to you, then of course, make an arrangement that you can talk to them. It's just, you've got to know your partner and know what is best for your children. Okay, who will pay for childcare, educational expenses, or how will they be split? Another huge expense. If you had 3 children with your ex like I did, and you had to buy 3 packs of school supplies at the beginning of the year by yourself, that's a huge expense. And school pictures, all that kind of thing. So decide how you'll split that up, and who will pay for that. Who will make medical, educational, or religious decisions about the children? So there may be certain things that you don't want to take place and certain things that you do want to take place, but put that in your parenting plan so that it doesn't come up later as a big argument. The more details you put in your parenting plan, the better, especially where a narcissist is concerned, because they're going to come back to you and they're going to say, no, we didn't say this time, or no, we decided we were going to exchange the kids on this date, or you never told me that was your vacation time. And so, make sure you have it in there so you can refer back to the parenting plan. And don't get into changes. Now, I was going to talk a little bit about my story. In my case, in both of my divorces, it worked out that my exes did not really fight for more time with the kids. My youngest daughter is 16, so she's a teenager. It's difficult to force a teenager to do something they don't want to do. And then with my other kids, my ex was happy, I think, with the time that he was able to get with them. And it was more of like, he was wanting to change weekends with me a lot. So he would have something come up and he would want to switch weekends, or sometimes I would just have them an extra weekend instead of him getting them for his time. And I was okay with that because I enjoyed having my kids. I wanted them as much as possible. I didn't want him to go and search for somebody else to care for them. And it worked out well for me. I was getting child support, so that helped. But my attorney did bring up the fact that I was having to buy more food for those times. I was having to, spend more money for childcare and things like that. But that was okay with me. Like I said at the time, that was a choice that I made, that I would prefer to spend more time with my children. So that's something for you to think about. But just know that if you do agree to changes in the parenting plan, then they're going to use that against you sometime in the future, especially if they're really high conflict and they just want to get in your business and mess up your important events or schedules. So if that's something that you expect could happen, and keep that in mind and don't make changes. Refer them back to the parenting plan. This is what it says. They can't argue with the black and white of the judge's orders. So something just to keep in mind. Parallel parenting versus co-parenting. So in the beginning, I mentioned that co-parenting is not really a thing with the narcissist. It ends up being more parallel parenting. Now, I would say that with my first husband, we did do more of the co-parenting in the beginning, but later things got contentious around money and child support and my new husband. And so that made it really difficult. And we had to go more to the parallel parenting where I really didn't talk to him at all. And then with my second husband, we've done parallel parenting. Like, we only communicate through email at this time. It could change later, but right now that's the thing that I feel most comfortable with. Parallel parenting is where you have no contact with the other parent except through like a court ordered parenting app. I don't know exactly what they're called, but I've never used one, so I don't know how that works. Or you could communicate through email. I know that some partners can get really vicious with their words over emails, even on the apps, the parenting apps that they know the courts can access. They can get really vicious and mean. So it's good to have a record of that if that's your case. If you have a partner that is really verbally abusive or threatening your life, things like that, use a parenting app so that you have a record of everything. And let me see if there's anything else. Okay, when you communicate, keep everything very brief and matter of fact. Like, the game is on Saturday at 2 p.m. And when they come back and say, you never told me it was at 2 p.m., why didn't you share the schedule with me? Just keep replying, the game is on Saturday at 2 p.m. Here is the schedule, or you have access to the schedule on blah, blah, blah website, whatever the case may be. But keep everything just very matter of fact. Don't tell emotions. Don't say how you feel about how they're talking to you. Don't get angry and say something rude back to them, as tempting as it may be. You want to look like the bigger person. You want to come across to the courts as the person that is giving the information in a very matter-of-fact way and not letting your emotions get involved. Don't share birthday parties. Don't have joint holiday celebrations, and no fraternization at school events. Just, sit with another parent, sit with other family members, but do not communicate with your ex during these events. If they try to communicate with you, keep everything very gray rock, or even yellow rock, like, hi, how are you? Yes, the kids played great, and move on. Keep it very brief and short. Parallel parenting is the better option for those divorcing or already divorced from a narcissist or highly toxic partner, because with very limited contact, you're protecting your emotions as well as the emotions of your children. And with a detailed parenting plan, there's just nothing else to argue about except things that the narcissist conjures up, or, things that they do to your children. But, just try to stay out of their business as much as possible. Keep them out of your business as much as possible. And by adopting parallel parenting, you're more likely to exist in a more peaceful way in the aftermath of this divorce. So I hope these tips help, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. If you have anything that you think I should have added, please put that in the comments. Like I said, I have not gone through this 50-50 custody, so if you have some tips that you think parents need to know as well, please leave those below. And if you know somebody that helps parents with parenting plans, feel free to list their names as well, because that's not my area of expertise. So thanks for joining, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.